Hey everyone, it's Jeannie here. Today I am joined by filmmaker and actor Eduardo Verástegui and Tim Ballard, who spent more than a decade working as a special agent for the Department of Homeland Security, and now his story is being told in the incredible movie, and I can say this because I've seen it, Sound of Freedom, that is hitting theaters on July 4th. So yes, I've had a pre-screening, and like I was just telling you off camera, every second of it was riveting. It was just gripping. I felt like I needed to go do something to change the world. So Tim, I want to say thank you for being brave enough to do what you did and to share your story. Can you share a little bit for those who are like, what is she talking about? Sounds cool, but I have no idea what Sound of Freedom is.
Yeah, well, first, thank you so much, because without media partners, we can't fulfill our mission. And this is a mission. This movie is a movement. And that's why we partnered with Eduardo and his team, because they feel the same way. So the story Sound of Freedom is, it tracks the end of my career, really, at the Department of Homeland Security, where I spent over a decade fighting child crimes as an undercover operator. And this story is about our work, where I over-committed to a particular operation that I was supposed to really just be consulting on, and I got so emotional, because you got to understand, like, after 10 years of this work, I have 1,000 holes in my brain. And I love this line that Jim Caviezel says in the film. I didn't say it in real life, but it definitely sums up my feelings when he says to his boss, basically me to the U.S. government, saying, "This job tears you to pieces, and this is my one way to put those pieces back together." And it was, look, I've done so many cases where we just get the end user, the possessor, and that's great. We need to do those cases, the possessor of the material, the child exploitation material, but how about let's get the kids out? And unfortunately, most of these kids are living in a place where they don't have the resources, their governments don't have the resources to get them out. No one's looking for them. And so the film is about that kind of that inner struggle of, what do I do? The government's telling me to come home. If I come home, being that we're the tip of the spear of the operation, if I come home, it's, I can't save the kids. But if I stay, I lose my job. It's a horrible predicament to be in. And there's one scene in the film where Mira Sorvino, Academy Award-winning actress who plays my wife Catherine, I'm talking to her, and this depicts a very real scene, and she just says, like, I'm wavering, like, what do I do? I can't. Yeah. We have 6 children.
Yeah,
I can't.
You're thinking about your family, but you also want to help this other family.
And she says in the film, just quit your job and go save these kids. And the real line, because I pushed back. If you saw the cowardice in me, that he was kind enough to leave out of the film, but the cowardice was in me, and I said, "There's no way I'm going to quit my job. Are you crazy? Like, I'm in charge of. I got to bring food back to the kids, and we're out of money in just a few months." Glenn Beck was kind enough to raise money for us to get the operation done, but after that, I didn't know what was going to happen. And Catherine said to me, when I was in my lowest moment, and I decided to do it and then not to do it. And then in that moment of not to do it, she says to me, and she grabs me like this. I remember, and this is verbatim, because it was so piercing to me what she said. And she said, "I will not let you jeopardize my salvation by not doing this."
Wow.
And then she told me, "I don't care," and she meant this, "I don't care if we end up living in tents. Like, if we have to sell our house, it doesn't matter. We have a meeting with our maker. We know what we've been told to do, and we are going to do it. That's it." And so, so then that was it for me. Like, I didn't have all the faith I needed, but I knew she did, and that was enough in the moment. And off we went. And it turned out to be that operation ends up being probably the biggest, the largest that I know of. It was over 130 rescues. And as depicted in that, and the big island scene. And there's actually a documentary associated with it that Eduardo's helping us push out as well. That's gonna, it's called Triple Take. It's gonna come out, and it's the full story of the island, which is much bigger than even what they could have put in that scene. So that's kind of the basis of the story, and you guys got to watch it.
Yes.
To hear the rest.
Eduardo, I want to ask you about just the getting behind this. I know the film has been in the making for a long time. Talk about why you chose to lend your talents, your production talent, your acting talent to this film, and just, this is a very, I love about you, and I've followed you throughout the years. You're very intentional with what you do and the moves that you make. I know you're strategic with it. So I'd love to know why you chose to.
Hearing him, it's impossible not to want to be involved in a project like this. When I met Tim and I just heard what you just heard right now, and with more details, of course, and I was in shock. I was like,
I was
depressed too, because when there is a lot of bad things happening in the world, of course, but this is something that there's no name for this. This is beyond. And you know what really hurts me the most, it's that the people who are doing this to these kids are human beings like you and me, made of the same. This is not people who are coming from other planets that are our enemies. This is people like us. So in what moment, what happened to these guys? I mean, they were kids at some point, full of dreams. So what happened? In what moment they decided to, what, I'm going to,
predators, right?
I'm going to use my life to hurt kids. And of course, sometimes it's very easy to look the other way around when you hear things like this that are very ugly. Like, I don't want to be involved in this. I want to, I want to.
Because it's hard, right?
It's hard.
It's like, how can I fix this?
But it's harder not to do it. It's dangerous. Yes, it's more dangerous not to do it. So at the end of the day, because we're gonna die and we're gonna answer to God, and every day I think about this. How am I using my life? So of course, even though just like him, I try to maybe look the other way around, and then you realize that now I can't sleep. There is something haunting me that I cannot escape. Because if I keep running away from this project, I won't have peace anymore. And I was losing my peace, and I was busy doing other things. Wow. But then one day, when Tim told me, it's very sad what I'm telling you, Eduardo. Of course, it's horrible, but it's more sad than now that you know it. If you do nothing, it penetrates again the heart, and I'm like. Okay.
He did to you what his wife did to him.
Somehow, yes, because it's tough. This problem is so big that it's almost like beyond. Even he told me that I can be the solution for one child, and of course, you save one child, you save the world. And thank God we have rescued not one but thousands. But still, Eduardo, this is when you see it from the, at a macro level. Right. We're talking about millions of children. How in the world are we going to, end this nightmare, this terrible reality? And then when he said, we need a movement. We need to create a movement so we can put pressure to the government. So this thing becomes a priority, not just for government, for everyone. But how can it become a priority for you if you didn't even know in the first place that this problem exists? Right. So we need to give, how do you say in English? Visualizar el problema, how you say it?
Said it. Actualize it, visualize
Exactly, visualize it.
Put a picture to
exactly.
it.
So people can see, this is real, through a format, emotional format. So then it goes through the eyes, it moves the heart and the emotions, and then the feet move forward. That's a movement. So we move it to movement, right? And that's when we decided to partner with him, his team, his wife, which actually was the boss, who say, green light, let's do it. Because there's a lot of producers who were interested in his film, but for some reason, Tim and his wife were not, I don't trust these guys, because, there's a lot of people involved in this crime in Hollywood.
Well,
yes,
I was just going to say, there was a big studio that this film fell on their desk and they refused to put it out.
It's more people than you think.
So I'm like,
and sometimes, let me tell you,
why wouldn't they?
And let me tell you what happens sometimes. We won't say names or anything because this interview is not about that. But sometimes people want to buy the rights of of a film like this, of a story like his.
To put it on the show?
No. So they have an excuse to do thousands of auditions with children.
Oh, God.
So they can see who is vulnerable, which parents are, broken families where maybe they're selling their kids and everything. And it's not for the movie. It's just for, can you imagine you're doing auditions for the entire year all over Latin America and for this movie, just like in the movie, the first scene is an audition. So anyway, so when we became one and we decided, I put pause in everything else that I was doing in my life so I can dedicate, I promised to God, I want to dedicate my entire life to save children. I am pro-life, but pro-life means not just to defend just the babies in the womb. Of course, that's the most fundamental and most important right, because if you don't have the right to be born, you cannot enjoy any other rights. But we don't stop there. What about the kids who are living in the streets? What about the children that are victims of child trafficking? What about those teenagers who are suffering from addictions? We need to be there too. What about those who were false accused and they're in prison? And we need to be there too if you're pro-life. You care about life in every stage of that person, right? And so that's why we decided to put all our energy, all our lives, our minds, our faith into this project. It's been 8 years of work for 2 hours of your time. And I hope this movie will touch many hearts. I hope this movie will raise awareness. And I can't believe that after 8 years of work, only the team knows what we went through. A lot of tears of blood doing this project. But we're here celebrating 4th of July, very soon, Independence Day. Free the children, free the children, freedom for the children of the world. First is in America, but then we go to Mexico, Latin America, worldwide, because this is a global problem. And I believe that if you do your part, you're doing it. If we do our part, we're doing it. And if you do your part, we will end this nightmare. Go to Angel app.
Angel
buy
Studios.
tickets, and let's make sure that this movie is #1. So more media can come and cover not just the movie, the topic, which is the most important thing.
And I know we have to wrap it up, but I want to just say a couple of things. The United States is the #1 consumer of child trafficking, which is something that people don't know about. I just wanted to commend you on your discernment, right, for selecting somebody like Eduardo and whoever else is partnering with you to bring this out. Jim Caviezel, another one that I know, like, he doesn't commit to anything unless he really believes in it. And I wanted to say this last thing, and Tim, if you want to just share. Light is the only thing that can expose darkness. And what you are doing is you're bringing light to something that needs to be shown light on. And if you want to just add anything else in closing.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, the one promise we make, and we say it often, is there's no place we won't go. And we've been everywhere. We've been to the darkest corners of even the Middle East, Iraq, Syria, the darkest corners of the most remote island nations of the world, like Haiti, where there's no hope. I think about this little girl we rescued once. Her story is depicted in a documentary that's had over 2 million views already. It's on Amazon. It's called Operation Two Saint. But it was a long, long process. We ended up rescuing this little girl who was a little red door in a remote street in the darkest corner of Haiti, in this little alley, and there's a little red door. And you have to watch the documentary to understand how we got to the red door. But we got to the red door, and the door opened, and she was inside, and she was being raped when we got to her. And she had been kidnapped at, I think, like 7 or 8 years old in the wake of the earthquake in 2010. And a kind woman came up to her and said, "I'll take care of you." And she's crying over the dead body of her parents. And she's made to be a sex slave until she's through her life. And when we got to her, she was despondent completely. And she didn't speak till the next day. The next day, this was in 2018. It was January 11th of 2018. And we sat with her. And our director of aftercare got to her, and she was with her. And you see this depicted in her face is blurred. Of course, she's holding his teddy bear. And she finally speaks 24 hours after being rescued. And she says, her first words are a question. And she says, "Can I really have hope?" Like she didn't even want to believe that this could be real. Because who ever would open that red door. She knew enough to know that she lived in one of the most remote countries in the world, and in the darkest corner of that most remote country, behind a little red door. Who's going to open that door? And she says, "Can I have hope?" And just like I said, yes, it's over. It's over. We didn't even know this at the time. She had a little baby that had been produced because of being raped, and we recovered that baby. Wow. And they were using that baby as leverage to force her. And I tell people this, and I tell your audience this, that there's millions of red doors all around the world. Mm-hmm. And where there was no hope that those doors could be opened, there now is hope that those doors can be opened. Because there's nowhere we won't go. But to your point, we can't do it alone. Like, we will deliver the light to those places, but someone has to give us the light first. And that light is prayers. That light is new laws that people can create. That light is donations. That light is tickets to go watch Sound of Freedom. That's the light that we can now transfer into a rescue. And we'll do our part. We'll go to the darkest place. We'll go anywhere. But if we don't have partnerships with everybody, we can't do it.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. God bless you, and I will do my part. And I know we all do our part too. Thank you.
There is hope. He's my hope. God is my hope. You are my hope. And you are the hope. And hope is in the way. We're coming to save the children. And we're coming after the traffickers too.